Fine, fine. Chuddam, manamu we'll wait for 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay,
While the
okay,
chair come, we'll start the class. Yeah, yeah.
okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, right. I'll begin the class now. In this class, we'll be studying about the meaning, definitions, and nature and scope of social anthropology. Before that, we'll try to understand what is social anthropology. Okay, generally, the social anthropology is one of the core branches of anthropology and occupies a significant place in the social sciences. It is closely related to sociology, but differs in its emphasis on small scale societies, intensive fieldwork, and comparative analysis. So, social anthropology as a subject, it aims to understand social institutions, cultural practices, and social relationships as integrated whole subject. So, therefore, the discipline has contributed substantially to the understanding of social structure, culture, and social change. There are various, scholars and who have attempted to define the concept of social anthropology. One among them was like the prominent A.R. Redcliffe Brown. So he defines social anthropology as the comparative study of social institutions of human societies. So according to him, so this is like it is a comparative study. Social anthropology is a comparative study of social institutions of human societies, whereas the other definition, and perhaps particularly this definition highlights the comparative and structural functional approach that focuses on how institutions maintain social order. So therefore the definition of social anthropology particularly highlights the comparative study of social institutions of human societies. Even you have another, scholars and Evans Pritchard, and we views social anthropology as the study of societies as moral and symbolic systems, emphasizing social values, beliefs, and meanings. According to Lucy Mayer, so he views that social anthropology is concerned with the study of social relationships and social organization of human societies. From these definitions, we can derive a clear understanding of social anthropology that it is clear that social anthropology focuses on social structure and institutions. So it focuses on patterns of social relationships, it focuses on cultural norms and values, and it also focuses on functional interdependence of social systems. So therefore, the social anthropology is concerned with the study of social relationships and organization of social organization of human societies. So therefore, one can understand the meaning of the social anthropology as it indicates that the term anthropology actually originates from the Greek words anthropos. It means anthropos meaning human beings, and logos means the knowledge or study. In other words, the social anthropology specifically deals with the social and cultural dimensions of human life, social and cultural dimensions of human life. Therefore, it seeks to understand how societies organized, and how individuals interact within the groups, and how customs and traditions regulate social behavior, and how culture shapes social institutions, and how social institutions again shapes and influences the cultural pattern of the behavior of the society. So therefore, the social anthropology basically seeks to understand how societies are organized, and how actually people interact within the groups, and what makes them to interact. So, and how this culture and how the customs and how the traditions regulate social behavior, and what are the basic predicaments of those social behavior, and why people behave in a particular manner, why not in others manner. So what is the role of the culture, and how culture plays an important role in shaping the social behavior of the individuals and social institutions at large. Therefore, this social anthropology as a subject, it basically tries to understand how societies are organized, so, and how societies function, how societies the mutually coordinate and interdependent on each other. So, and what is the role of the culture in all of these spheres of social functions. Therefore, the social anthropology basically focused on these aspects. Traditionally, as we understand that, the social anthropology focused on tribal, primitive, and pre-literate societies. Right? Basically, it concerns with, as we just now we discussed that it social anthropology as a discipline, it focuses on small societies, in the sense the tribal societies, the primitive societies, the pre-literate societies, means those are not modern, right? Generally, and which are the societies which are not modern? Generally, we say that it is a rural society, it is a pre-literate society, and it is the tribal societies. And when we talk about tribal societies, we have a lot of tribal societies in India, particularly in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. For example, among the tribal communities, you have Lambada, you have Koya, you have Gonds, you have Chenchus, Konda Reddis, and all these societies are like tribal societies. Now, these societies, if we observe, they're all like, they maintain traditional continuity. They maintain the cultures. They're generally, those cultures are not practiced in the mainstream societies. But, they have a peculiar culture, they have a different culture, they have a different belief systems, they govern their political life, economical life, cultural life, religious life. All these social institutions are actually, they have a different cultural setup altogether, in a way that those cultural behavior and institutions, they regulate the behavior of those tribal societies. In a way, the social anthropology as a discipline, it basically tries to understand, focuses on those tribal societies, primitive societies, and pre-literate societies mainly. And how the social anthropologist basically deals, generally, it's not that he sits in the library and in the university and imagines or studies through some secondary textbooks. It is not that. It generally, the social anthropology is a discipline, it emphasizes on fieldwork method. As a result, the social anthropologist, he goes to the field, and he as part of the participant observation, and he does he or she does the ethnographic fieldwork and collects the information about the culture and the living patterns and social behavior, social institutions, cultural institutions, economic institutions, and as well as political institutions of those societies. So generally, this traditionally the social anthropology as a discipline, it focuses on participant observation. It focuses on ethnographic fieldwork methods. So, however, in contemporary times, as technology grows, and there are a lot of the research that underwent in research methodology, and lot of changes. So in contemporary terms, its scope has also been extended and expanded to include peasant societies, urban communities, industrial societies, and globalized context. And in a way that the social anthropology as a discipline, though traditionally focuses on uh, tribal, primitive, and pre-literate societies. However, in contemporary times, the scope has got enlarged. It got enlarged and updated. And then they also say that why can't we study on peasant societies? Why can't we study the rural communities? Why can't we study the urban communities? Why can't we study even industrial societies? Generally, now the social anthropology as a discipline is also focusing on those communities. In it traditionally it focuses on tribal, primitive, and pre-literate societies. However, with the changes in its methodology approach in contemporary times, its scope has got expanded and to include peasant societies, urban communities, industrial societies, and as part of its focus category. So, what is the nature of social anthropology? The nature of social anthropology is that it adopts a scientific methods such as observation, comparison, and analysis, and it follows the holistic approach in a way that it studies the society is studied as a whole, where institutions like family, economy, religion, politics are interrelated. In a way that suppose if a social anthropologist goes to the field and studies the cultural pattern of tribal community, so he collects the cultural patterns of those collects the information related to the cultural patterns of those communities. However, after collecting that cultural patterns, he relates those cultural patterns to the institutions of the family, economy, religion, and politics, because all these things are interrelated. The culture doesn't exist in isolation. Therefore, the culture influences by the family, economy, religion, politics, and so on and so forth. So, in a way that the social anthropologist, he follows through the holistic approach to actually to actually relate and to relate those observed patterns of the field work to the totality of the social systems. So, and it also follows the nature of sociology. So social anthropology also follows comparative perspective in a way that it allows different societies, it focuses on different societies compared to identify similarities and differences in social organization. Generally, if you want to say that tribal societies follow a different cultural pattern, how we are saying that they are following a different pattern in relation to the modern societies, right? So that when we are using the word particular cultural pattern, it means that we are actually in comparison we are studying, in comparison we are studying, and therefore we are using that word particular culture, therefore to designate as a unique feature of those communities. So, and it also follows as I just told you that the nature of social anthropology also follows fieldwork based approaches. And it follows the intensive fieldwork and participant observation from the backbone of it forms the backbone of social anthropological research. The fieldwork is the main category of social anthropology discipline, because without the fieldwork one cannot even imagine the main crux of the social anthropology discipline. So therefore, And it also has another, the characteristics of social anthropology, that is it focuses purely on culture and society. The major emphasis is placed and placed on understanding culture in its social context. Therefore, the if we can recollect the nature of social anthropology, is that it follows the systematic and scientific approach, and it also adopts a holistic approach in studying the social institutions as a whole. And it follows the comparative perspective, where different societies are compared to identify similarities and differences in social organization. And it basically emphasizes on fieldwork based approaches, as it allows and follows the intensive fieldwork method and participant observation, and as it forms the backbone of social anthropological research. Therefore, and it also plays and lays a great emphasis on culture in its social context. Therefore, dear friends, that the this is the nature of social anthropology. Now we'll be studying about the scope of social anthropology. So what is the scope, and what are the elements that actually it focuses on? That is the scope of social anthropology. So what it actually studies, and what it actually examines, and what it actually it analyzes, it examines. So we'll be studying in the part of social anthropology. The scope of social anthropology is generally is very vast, and it covers almost all aspects of social life. And generally it has a larger scope of understanding of social anthropology, and it covers major aspects of, so social life. Now we'll be studying those social aspects of social life in much detail. As part of that, and the scope of social anthropology is that it studies social institutions. It studies social institutions that regulate human life, and that regulate social behavior of individuals in society. For example, it places a greater emphasis on family and marriage systems. It gives major emphasis on kinship, descent, and alliance forms. It also places greatest emphasis on political organization. For instance, when we talk about a political organization, we are talking about the political structure of the the for instance tribal societies, where tribal society generally have the chief dome, and try council of group, where they deliver their verdict on the crimes, and on the maintenance of social and order of the societies. So it also studies the laws, customs, and social control of the societies. So therefore, the scope of social anthropology is the study of institutions, social institutions, those regulate social behavior of the individuals. And it also lays the another aspect is that it also studies the economic organization, because it examines the economic life of societies that include uh, hunter and gathering societies, pastoral societies, agricultural societies, trade, barter, and exchange system societies. And it also studies and how the division of labor is being laid, and how those property relations are maintained in those economic organization. That is it is studied by social anthropology discipline. So, therefore, anthropologists like Malinowski highlights that how economic activities are embedded in social relations. It means that this scope of social anthropology, as we said, that it studies social institutions, and it also gives a major emphasis on economic aspect of the institutions. And the third one is that, and it gives us major emphasis on religion and belief systems. As I told you, that the main thread of the studying the societies by social anthropologists is the cultural patterns, so in a way that it gives the major emphasis on the religious and belief systems, and how religion becomes a central concern of social anthropology. It studies the magic, religion, and the ritual practices of tribal societies. And it also studies the totemism and animism of the tribal societies. It also studies the myth and symbolism of tribal societies, and it also studies the role, how the role of religion maintained in maintaining the social cohesion, social solidarity, social law and order of those societies. So for instance, the Emil Durkheim influence is evident in the study of religion as a social institution. And in fact, Emil Durkheim is one of the major sociologists, very prominent sociologist, and is also one of the founding fathers of sociology discipline. And in fact, he studies the major aspects of religion in society, and in a way that he follows social anthropology approach in the study of religion as a social institution. And the fourth aspect of the scope of scope of social anthropology is that, and the social stratification and inequality. The social anthropology, it studies the caste and class systems, it studies status and role differentiations, and it studies gender relations. It also studies age and power structures. And on all these studies, it is reveals that how inequality is socially constructed and culturally legitimized. So therefore, the social anthropology basically studies the how social structure is being stratified, and how those social structure is being constructed, and how the culture is legitimizing those social stratification is studied by social anthropology. Therefore, the study of social anthropology, the scope of social anthropology is also deals with the study of social stratification and inequalities in society. And the fifth aspect it could be is that the it studies the culture and the social change. It is not merely studying those social institutions as a static entity. It also studies and how those the culture it leads to social change in the societies is also studied by the social anthropologists. The basically the discipline examines the processes of culture and continuity and change in society, and how cultural continuity and changes that occur in society, and how the acculturation and assimilation happens in society, and what is the impact of modernization and globalization in bringing social change in societies, and what is the impact of development of technology and on the societies. It studies by the social anthropology as a discipline. Therefore, the social anthropologists, they're very critical to analyze the development programs and their effects on indigenous communities, and how the indigenous communities respond to those changes that occur at the level of globalization, modernity, and the nationalization of the development discourse, and so on and so forth. So social anthropologists, they generally they also examine the process of cultural continuity and changes, and they also study the aspects related to the acculturation and assimilation. They also study the modernization and the effects and the influences and consequences of modernization, globalization, the role of technology on the indigenous communities at large. And the scope of as part of the scope of social anthropology, the main concern is that it lays greater emphasis on comparative study of societies. Generally they go with the comparison of societies. For example, if a social anthropologist wants to study the Chenchu society in Nalamala forest, and he compares those cultural patterns with other indigenous groups that reside in deeper parts of the forest elsewhere. So they go in comparison of those societies. So this is a major concern of social anthropology discipline. So a major concern is that it is a comparison of simple and complex societies, and it is a comparison of tribal, rural, and urban communities, and it is also the comparative study that actually lays between the traditional and modern social systems. So therefore, the comparative study analysis generally helps in developing generalization about human social behavior. The comparative analysis generally helps in developing generalization about human behavior, and human behavior in a social context. And the other aspect of scope of social anthropology is that it is applied social anthropology. This is, I think, major. The unique feature of this discipline is that it is the applied social anthropology. The applied social anthropology uses anthropological knowledge for practical purposes. For example, the much of these studies are basically to influence the development policy makers. For example, the applied social anthropology uses lot of anthropological knowledge for practical purposes, to influence the development at the level of tribal welfare and development, and health and medical anthropology, health education and community development, policy formation and evaluation. So therefore, the scope of applied social anthropology plays a crucial role in development planning and social interventions. Therefore, it is called the applied sociology as the core of social scope of social anthropology. And another important thing is that they have a lot of relations with other disciplines that we'll be studying in detail now. Because it has a very close relations with other disciplines, particularly with sociology. They share a lot of common interest. The social anthropology and sociology, they share a lot of common interest. However, they differ in terms of the area of study, because the social anthropology, they basically concerns with small scale societies, whereas the sociology discipline, they concern with complex societies and large societies. And as regards the fieldwork is concerned, the social anthropology follows fieldwork methods, whereas the sociology discipline, they follow survey method in trying to understand the behavior of the social behavior of the society. And it focuses on the cultural aspects by social anthropology, whereas it focuses on the social structure of the society by the sociology discipline. And in contemporary social sciences, both disciplines increasingly overlapping and complementing each other. So therefore, one can say that the relationship between the social anthropology and sociology is like a very close cousin relationship, because one cannot live without the other. So it has a very close relationship between these two disciplines, because each takes the help of the other in trying to understand the behavior, social behavior of the society. Therefore, in conclusion, the social anthropology offers a comprehensive understanding of human societies by examining social institutions, cultural practices, and social relationships in a comparative and holistic manner. I think therefore, the social anthropology as a discipline, it provides essential theoretical and methodological insights into social structure, culture, and social change. So its relevance has grown in the modern world due to the increasing, the cultural interaction, development challenges, and global transformations. Therefore, the scope of social anthropology is gaining wider approaches, and the scope is being enlarged day by day to focus, to capture the complex phenomenon of social behavior and dynamics of the social change in society. So, friends, now we'll be studying about the relationship between or of social anthropology with other sciences. So, what is the relation? Is there a relation at all? If there is a relation, what is that relation? And if there is no relation, why there is no relation doesn't exist? And even within the relation, so what is the similarity? And what are the differences that occurs between the disciplines? Now we'll be studying, the relationship of social anthropology with other social sciences. As we discussed that social anthropology as a branch of anthropology is closely related to several social and natural sciences. While its primary concern is the study of social institutions and cultural practices of human societies, it draws concepts, theories, and methods from all other allied disciplines. Therefore, the interdisciplinary nature of social anthropology enriches its analytical framework and broadens its scope of understanding human life in its totality. Therefore, it has a lot of I mean the interdisciplinarity nature of because the scope and nature of social anthropology allows and depends on the interdisciplinary nature with other sciences. Now we'll be studying those things in much detail now. Though one among the prime relation, now we'll be studying about the relationship between the social anthropology and sociology. So generally, social anthropology and sociology are closely interrelated. They are very, closely interrelated disciplines. So one among the similarity is that they both study social relationships, institutions, and social structure. They both employ scientific methods for the study of society. They both aim at understanding social order, social change, and social integration, social disturbance, and so on and so forth. But what are the similar differences that exist? So these are the similarities. So what are the differences is that sociology traditionally focuses on modern complex societies, whereas social anthropology it studies the tribal, pre-literate, peasant societies, small scale societies. But social anthropology relies heavily on participant and observation and fieldwork method, while sociology uses surveys, statistical methods, and secondary data to capture the information related to social change and behavior of the society. And sociology basically emphasizes social problems and institutions, whereas social anthropology it lays a major stress on the culture and customs of the society. In contemporary studies, the boundary between these two has become increasingly blurred, in a sense that they have a lot of similarities. They lot of interdependence in nature, because sociology studies actually by the social anthropology, and what social anthropology studies is also being studied by the sociologist. So therefore they have a lot of interdependency nature. They depend on each other in studying the social nature of the societies. And the next one is that the relationship between social anthropology and cultural anthropology. So, what is the difference? The social anthropology is closely related to cultural anthropology, especially in the American anthropological tradition. It focuses, the cultural anthropology focuses on culture, beliefs, values, and symbols, whereas the social anthropology emphasizes social structure and institutions, in a way that the both disciplines use ethnographic methods and holistic approaches. Today they are often treated as complementary rather than separate branches. The third relationship between social anthropology and psychology is that the social anthropology and psychology intersect in the study of human behavior. Psychology focuses on individual behavior and mental processes, and whereas social anthropology it studies the collective behavior and cultural patterns. Therefore, the subdiscipline of psychological anthropology examines personality formation, child rearing practices, and the influence of culture on personality development. The fourth aspect is that the relationship between the social anthropology and history. Social anthropology and history. Now, as part of this, the social anthropology is that social anthropology has a close relationship with history, you know, because history studies the past events, whereas the social anthropology studies living societies. But anthropological studies generally help historians to understand social institutions of the past. Historical data assist anthropologists in studying social change and continuities. Therefore, the emergence of historical anthropology reflects this relationship. As regards the, within the social anthropology discipline, there is a separate discipline has got emerged, that is called historical anthropology, where it studies the relationship between the social anthropology and history. Therefore, the emergence of historical anthropology reflects the relationship between that exists between social anthropology and history in a much cohesive manner. And the fifth aspect is called the relationship between social anthropology and economics. The relationship between social anthropology and economics. Social anthropology contributes to the understanding of economic life in social context, whereas the economy focus on production, distribution, and consumption, in a way that the social anthropology studies economic behavior as culturally embedded patterns. Anthropologists like Malinowski demonstrated how economic activities are governed by social norms rather than the market logic alone, isn't it? So, and the sixth point is called, as part of the relation between other social sciences, is that the relationship between social anthropology and political science. The relationship between social anthropology and political science is evident in the study of power and governance. Political science focuses on state and formal political systems, whereas the social anthropology studies informal political institutions such as caste panchayats, tribal, panchayat, council, systems, its leadership and authority in tribal societies, pre-literate societies. Therefore, the relationship is very much close in a way that it also led to the development of political anthropology. The in a way that the relationship between the social anthropology and political science is so close, as it got developed to the to the development of political sociology, anthropology discipline, political anthropology discipline. And the seventh point is the relationship between social anthropology and geography. The relationship between social anthropology and geography. And geography and social anthropology are related in understanding human environment interaction. Geography studies physical environment and spatial patterns, whereas the social anthropology examines how environment influences culture, economy, and social organization. Therefore, the cultural ecology as a discipline, it reflects the interdisciplinary link between the relationship between social anthropology and geography. Social anthropology and geography. And the eighth one is that the relationship between the social anthropology and biology. Social anthropology is connected to biology through its concern with the human evolution and adaptation. Biology generally explains the physical aspects of humans, but whereas the social anthropology focuses on social and cultural adaptation. Together, they help explain the biological and cultural dimensions of humanity. And the ninth one is that the it studies the relationship between social anthropology and the linguistics. So language is an essential aspect of culture. Language is an essential aspect of culture, as linguistic studies structure and functions of language, whereas the social anthropology examines language in social and cultural context. So this relationship is reflected in developing the discourse called linguistic anthropology. Therefore, from all this, the understanding, one can say that social anthropology maintains a close and dynamic relationship with various social and natural sciences. The interdisciplinary linkage enhances its theoretical depth and practical evidence, and by integrating insights from sociology, psychology, and history, economics, political science, geography, biography, biology, and linguistics. The social anthropology as a discipline provides a holistic understanding of human societies. I mean, this disciplinary, interdisciplinary approach is very much essential for the students to analyze complex social realities in a comprehensive manner. In a comprehensive manner. Therefore, friends, so far we studied about the nature, the meaning, definition, and the nature and scope of social anthropology. We also studied its relationship with other social sciences. Therefore, one can say that one can say that the social anthropology is one of the very core branches of anthropology and occupies a very significant place in the social sciences. It closely related to the sociology discipline. However, it differs in its emphasis on small scale societies, intensive fieldwork, and comparative analysis. Therefore, social anthropology as a discipline aims to understand social institutions, cultural practices, and social relationships as integrated whole manner. Therefore, the discipline has contributed substantially to the understanding of social structure, the social culture, and social changes in societies. So, friends, so with this class, we'll take a break, and now I request the students, if you have any doubts, you can clarify. Harnad Garu, do you have any doubts?
No, sir. No, sir.
Is it clear?
Clear, sir. Clear.
Okay, so this is the basic, the approach of social anthropology, and in the next class we will be studying about the aspects of culture and the kinship patterns in much more detailed manner in the next class. I hope you enjoyed this class, and if you have any doubts, you can clarify since you have another 15 minutes, and or else we end this class. Is it okay, Hanad Garu?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, so you don't have any class? I mean, any doubts?
No doubt. No
Okay,
doubt.
so you followed the class, no? You understood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, then so I'll take the leave now. So enjoy other classes also, and encourage your friends to attend classes. As it I know this is a platform for you to clarify your doubts regarding the course material. So thank you once again for attending this class, and thank you all friends, and have a good day and keep studying. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.